are less than 24 hours away from one of the biggest days on the Rugby League calendar. I absolutely love it, and you can see all three games right here on Fox League. Joining me, James Hooper and Dean Bulldog Ritchie. It sets up to be some absolute blockbusters tomorrow.
Yeah, cracking games, and the way that the NRL handles it, both from the players to the fans, everybody involved in paying their respects on what's the best day on the calendar. Fantastic.
It just about is the best day, isn't it? When you go through the emotion and the passion, there's no better day. The Roosters are the one that really piqued my interest, though. It's a first-class roster. Robbo's under pressure. Teddy's under pressure. Let's see what resolve they've got.
And we'll talk more about that, Bulldog, very shortly. Now, some big news for the Roosters. Breaking news this afternoon. They have a player that will be out, a big name too.
There's a couple of big outs, so no Victor Radley and no Daniel Tupou. That means that Connor Watson will start at lock and Michael Jennings into the side as well. So given the fact that they are struggling, they are significant losses. Victor's been their best player, in my opinion, so far this year.
That's a big out, Bulldog. No Victor tomorrow?
Yeah, certainly is. He's been in good form this year, Victor. He's among the best improved players, I think, in the competition. But, gee, the Roosters, where to for the Roosters? If they lose this, we're a third of the way through the comp. They've only had 3 wins. You know, they do have the ability to string together a lot. However, you lose one more game, and that's a long way back.
And I feel like if they lose tomorrow against the Dragons on Anzac Day, it really heats up. The pressure does build, especially on Robbo. I mean, Trent's one of the best coaches who's ever coached our game, and he's kind of still getting by, even though the team is struggling. But if they lose tomorrow, you'd think that the blowtorch might start to heat up a bit.
Well, he's been immune from that, hasn't he? For essentially his whole coaching stint, Trent Robinson. He's not really come under any pressure other than his own internal pressure that he applies, but not from any external pressure as far as lack of results. Even the year that they, what was it, I think 2012, or so they had a really poor, 14 I think it might have been, had a really poor season. But they came back the following year in such good form, and there was such a plan that was put in place then. It just removed that question about all people questioning him on his assessments of the side. Yet now this year, with what's happening there, because this was the year that's supposed to be a bit of a bounce back from last season. Hasn't happened yet. So we're still waiting to see what happens there. And I actually think we're starting to see a little bit of, with things like this with Trent in the coach's box.
Bit of frustration.
Well, a little bit of, I think he's feeling the pressure. I think that's, he's not normally reacted that way, and I think that's the pressure coming out in him.
Well, he has won 3 premierships since he started at the club in 2013. But I think where the heat's really been applied over the last couple of seasons is, if you go back to the beginning of 2020, they've only beaten the Melbourne Storm once out of 10 games against the Storm, and then you look at the Panthers, and it's a duck egg from their last 9 games. That dates all the way back to 2020. They obviously won the premiership the season previous. So I think they've erred, and it's very unlike them to make some mistakes in the recruitment space. If you look at the way that they've now got Joseph Manu and also Joseph Swaley leaving the club next year, they were bought to be part of the succession plan with James Tedesco, but they decided to extend Teddy for the additional year until the end of next year. Now they lose both those 2 Ferraris that were being lined up to one day wear that number 1 jumper. It's very unlike the Roosters to make mistakes in that space, but I think they have their...
Yeah, all right. Now, in a welcome boost for the Roosters, Brendan Smith has committed to the club for the next season. Here's Coach Trent Robinson.
He took up his option maybe a week or 2 ago, so I'm not sure when that was completely decided. You know, it might have been by the end of May. But yeah, Brandon will be with us next year. And I can see the frame of mind that he's in. I'm really looking forward to him to continue to develop this year and next year.
Brendan Smith taking up that 3rd-year option that was in his favour. Is this a really good thing for the Roosters, do we think?
Well, he's in the best form since he signed in a Roosters jumper. I think he's had a strong start to this season, but he needed to off the back of what was a disappointing year last year.
He was very slow last year, wasn't he? I think it took him a while to get out of the Melbourne system into that Roosters system. But I think it is clear that the Roosters cannot make a dent in this premiership unless that bloke is at full tilt.
No, I agree. I think it's important tomorrow as well, but we've spoken about their spine and how they've kind of haven't reached their potential and they've struggled the past couple of years, and I think that's coincided with the team's poor performance. I wouldn't say poor, but average performances over the last 2 seasons.
Underwhelming, anyway.
Underwhelming.
Yeah.
I've said it a lot on here, and I hate saying it because I rate him a lot, Brendan Smith, and I think he's a lock still, though. And I think he's got the potential to be a fantastic lock. I just don't know if
They've
he's the
already
right...
got a fantastic lock.
That's what I'm saying, but that's my point. I don't
They've got
know.
three fullbacks
I
too,
actually
those.
don't know if it's the... I don't actually know if it's such a great thing that he's taken up that option. Because...
Well, the option was in his favour. Look, I think he's a terrific player.
So do I. But do you think he's a tricky nine?
Well, look, I don't think he's a true nine in the traditional sense, but I still think that there's enough footy nous in him. He's just got to get consistency with his pass.
That's the problem.
He's a bulldog out of dummy half.
He is.
His running game is so destructive.
That's just drills. That's just hours of passing in the summer, just getting that groove in your passing action.
But if you look at the top teams, like you look at Penrith and Brisbane, they've just got nines that do their job. You know, they're not.
Well, but he's not a conventional nine. He's
I
never
know
been
he's
a
not, but
conventional
I don't
nine.
know if it's helping their spine.
So you suggest, like, is Brandon's passing game?
It's got to be better.
Is that then having a flow-on effect to the rest of the fluency of the Roosters' attack?
If you're a half hoops, and I learnt this from Joey, right? You want the ball. You don't want the ball here. You want the ball around
On a plate,
here.
yeah.
So as a half, you're getting the ball on the run at speed at the advantage line. Gives you more time to look up and see where the space is, but it also gives you more time to put footwork on and less time for the defence. If the pass is here, like you really, it takes a lot out away from your halves. And I feel like the halves haven't been at their best, and that's part of the reason. And then Tedesco's doesn't come into, and they had that right at the start of the year, and he played really good in Vegas, and I thought he's done a lot of work here, and he's been good. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's just that fluency, cohesion around the 7, 6 and 9 that really has hurt the Roosters, and they've got to get it right. They really do.
Do you think, Braith, then, that Teddy's modest form in the last few weeks could be like a domino effect back to Brandon Smith?
And also with Walker not being there. So Walker's being out hurt Teddy last week. So I feel like tomorrow's going to be a big improvement, but I just keep an eye on that, because for Walker and Keary to be at their best, they need good service. So there's a bit of pressure on Brandon Smith, but all in all, I think it is a good signing, and he's got only the best ahead of him.